Howdy, everyone. So this is Maureen St. Germain's presentation, 5D Mastery and DYA DNA Activation. So on behalf of Conscious Life Expo, we welcome all newcomers as well as longtime attendees. How many are newcomers? Lots. Wow, lots of newcomers. Thank you for gathering here to help our community heal. The power of collective consciousness can be a beacon of hope and recovery. I just want to let you know that all the presentations here are being recorded, and they will be available for purchase starting probably tomorrow afternoon. And Maureen will also appear later today at 6 p.m. in the Century C room, and that will be Unlock the Divine Feminine. So Maureen St. Germain has over 30 years of experience in mystical and sacred traditions. She's known as the practical mystic. She's a prolific teacher and facilitator of spiritual knowledge for contemporary life, an internationally acclaimed ascension teacher. Maureen has been granted access to a dimension that has been closed to most of humanity for eons, and she is a direct channel to Source. Maureen's the founder of St. Germain Mystery School and Akashic Records International. Her annual Ascension Institute is a highly sought-after immersive training for evolving humans. She's the author of 7 books, including Amazon bestsellers like Waking Up in 5D. On a personal note, I've known Maureen for a very long time, and let's just say she is a very special soul. So let's welcome Maureen St. Germain.
Thank you, Susan, and I'm so pleased to have your introduction because Susan is very near and dear to me, and the very first time I met her, I said to myself, I know this woman, I want to be her friend. And I'm so grateful we are. Okay, so this is a lot of new material. If you've heard my lectures before, I want to thank you for coming. You're going to get some new stuff, which is going to be awesome. How many of you have the latest book, which is called Living Your Best 5D Life? A few. Okay, so I'm going to do a book signing right after this at the other end of the hallway. Hopefully, I'll be able to get there, and I have 15 minutes before the next presentation. And the next presentation at 6 is free. So, you can tell your friends if they didn't buy the full pass. So, what we're going to do today is some activations, and I'm going to give you some opportunity to say these activations with me. We will have a handout that you'll be able to take home, and you'll also be able to read it. I didn't want to make everyone have to read off the screen. So if you need readers, get them handy. You won't need them right this second, but you will need them before we're done. Okay? All right, so what we're doing is claiming your birthright and discovering how to activate your soul's divine blueprint. I also don't want to forget that we have an app now with over 40 guided meditations that I've written over the years. The app also has the complete protocol on how to connect with your higher self, and there's also a cartoon version. So if you're risk averse to reading, 3 paragraphs, then go to the cartoon version, and then it'll make sense to you. It's a very simple protocol. I won't be teaching that today because I've taught it in many classes, and I don't want to bore those of you who are return people, but I will say that if you haven't done the higher self protocol, you probably want to. And here's why. I discovered that you could get 100% accuracy by doing this protocol. And the neat thing about this protocol is it's very left brain. It's very linear. You take time to meditate and get a symbol or signal for yes, no, and neutral. You follow the protocol, which is you always follow through, and you ask a certain way. And then you avoid all your other divination tools for just 6 weeks. And within that time frame, you build a history for yourself, and you are able to always know what you need to know. The cool thing about it is after you've been practicing for a while, you're going to find your higher self will come in and tell you to do stuff. And that's also pretty cool. So we'll move right along here. This is do-it-yourself. Now, if you notice, this image looks a lot like that image in the movie Interstellar. How many saw that movie? Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And in the movie with Matthew McConaughey, he's floating in between these grids, and he's trying to figure out what to do. And he finds that he can actually go through, not through it, but communicate through one of the grids to his daughter at another time. So it's very, very cool. He came into this space after being pulled out of a black hole and came out the other side. Okay. So what we're going to do is learn how to create within the void. You may not realize this, but you cannot create without a boundary. So the painter has the canvas. The child may have the wall. Anything you want to create, you have a boundary. So when people say there's infinite, what they're not giving you understanding is that you must create the boundary of where you're stopping, of what you are creating. So you must have a boundary. The important thing to understand is that everything changes instantly. So once you create the boundary, then you are matching whatever it is on the inside with your heart's desire. So I want each of you to think about something you really want to create right now. And hold that thought for a few seconds and then let it go. We're going to do something with that. So you're going to come back to that. Now, you've all heard of saliva tests where they take saliva from one person's mouth and then they take it over here, they put it in a Faraday cage, they put it behind a brick wall, and then they give this guy some kind of strange or erotic pictures and the saliva changes. Now, the scientists will tell you that it's traveling faster than the speed of thought, but that's not what's happening. It's simultaneous. There is no time involved. There is no travel involved. You see? Okay, and that's exactly how you're going to create. All right, so you're going to start out with a blue sphere. This is from one of the people who were involved in the secret space program. His name is Stuart Swerdlow. So I'm going to share this little piece with you. Imagine the blue sphere, and then you're going to insert a purple triangle, okay? Now you're going to put an image of what it is that you want to manifest in the purple triangle. So for fun, I put in a car, I put in the Merkaba, I put in a beloved. You know what you want, and this is the final one, your business, your whatever you want to do for your heart's desire. So you know what you want to put inside that purple triangle, and then now you're just going to cover it with a brown sheet. All right, that is a very simplistic, easy way to manifest. Got it? Blue sphere, purple triangle, image, cover it in brown. Okay, now, you are here. I love this image, this guy floating in the middle of it. And when you have the willingness to unhook from the way you think things are. Now, I don't know about you, but a lot of people were taught about sex education, and it was shocking. It was like, really? That's what happens? And there's this, I'll call it cognitive dissonance or disbelief. And what I'm about to tell you is that everything you know today is going to change, and you're going to be struggling with cognitive dissonance. So the important thing to do is to remind yourself that everything is negotiable. Everything is changing. Everything that you think you know about the reality we live in might not be true. And so, now I'm going to talk to you about something that a lot of people won't talk to you about, and that is what happens when you die. Now, we will be having a handout, but so you can pass out the handout. What I want you to know is that when you die, the seed atom of who you are moves out from your heart. It gets ruptured at your heart, goes out your crown chakra and moves upward, often floating up above the body. Now, when this happens, you're still hanging out, but you're not in the body. So the body has died, but your consciousness is nearby. And it can take up to 3 days. This is when you get your life review. You may have heard of having a life review. It's also where people have the experience of dying and then coming back because they're close by. They slide back in. What we're going to do is claim your birthright and clear some of the opposition. So hopefully everybody's gotten a chance to see that. So we're going to say the Declaration of Sovereignty, and as soon as you get it, has everybody gotten one? Maybe you need to share. Who needs one? Okay, so if we run out, you move a little faster, please. Just put two, yeah. And it may be that you'll need to share. I don't know. I have 40 copies, and it looks like there's more than 40 people here. So please be willing to share with your neighbor. You can always take a picture with your phone once your neighbor has it. Let's go, let's go, let's go. I could have handed it out earlier, but I didn't want you to be reading it until we were ready. All right, so some of the people in the back, if you can, share with people in the front, please. What this is going to do is clear a bunch of overlays. It may clear overlays that you have as a child. Many of you may have taken on your mother or your father's grief or anger or frustration so that they could cope with a new baby. Okay, are we ready? All right. Okay, ready? I now lovingly and powerfully rescind any and all vows I have ever taken that align with the illusion of unconsciousness, separation, or limitation. As a beacon of light for my genetic lineage, I break these vows with reverence and divine authority, freeing myself and all of my ancestors from their energetic binding. In the name of the divine and eternal truth of who I am, I hereby revoke all vows of poverty, celibacy, and servitude made under the influence of fear or external control. I declare these vows null and void and across all timelines, dimension, and realities, and known and unknown, past, present, and future. I call forth the immediate release and dissolution of all energetic and then delusions no longer serve my highest good. I command this release under the law of grace and the decree of divine victory. I call forth the radiant light of spirit to awaken every aspect of my being. By divine will, I am awake. By divine will, we are awake. I stand in the fullness of my sovereignty as I am that I am. We are awake. We are free. So it is. Yes. And why 45 days? You get new DNA at 45 days. So what you have done is programmed yourself at the cellular level. And that's why you would choose to do it every day for 45 days. And if you miss a day, don't sweat it. Just add a day at the end. You know, don't make it a big deal. So what you're doing is creating the full power of who you really are. And one of the number one things that many of us do is we say, I have to. I have to meet my friend. I have to do this lecture. I have to pick up the kids. All of these are me or you handing off our power. So stop using that phrase. You don't have to. So you will use other phrases. I get to have dinner with my sweetheart. I'm picking up the kids on time. I need to leave now. Find ways to avoid that phrase, I have to. Because it turns out that when you say that, you're telling the universe, okay, whoever wants it can have it. So be aware. And if you are resisting anything, you probably need to let go. If you find yourself giving, 3 or 4 objections on why we can't do that, you probably need to let go. And I can tell you, even from my own part, because I've been around a long time, I've gotten a little set in my ways, and even I'm having to do a lot of this letting go and discovering new ways to be and new ways to express. So if you're resisting anything, ask yourself, what is it that I need to let go? Why am I having this experience? And you've all heard this from other teachers, and that is your experiences are a direct result of what you have chosen for yourself. So when you're really annoyed at another person for what they've done or not done, you can ask yourself, so what did I do to bring this on? And what is it in me that I don't like that I'm projecting out onto someone else? Because unfortunately that's true. Connecting in 5Ds, connecting the dots in 5Ds means that you're willing and ready to abandon the old ways of doing life and are open to being compassionate towards anything and everything so that nothing can trip your trigger. Nothing will bother you. In the most recent book, I actually say, when you're in 5D, everything's funny. And so you get a flat tire and you start laughing because now you don't have to make the business meeting because you got a flat tire. You find ways to enjoy and be in the joy of whatever is happening. Find ways to make your everyday drama laugh. Not at others, but at the absurdity. And we ask for that because we are capable of it and because we can. When you remind yourself of who you really are, a divine being having a human experience, it changes everything. And when you remember that we are in the midst of a dramatic transformation of humanity, it changes everything. Because you recognize that you chose to be here so you could be part of this magic. There's a phrase that Sanat Kumara said through me a number of years ago in Hong Kong when I was trying to explain to the students what it meant to not have any more karma. Karma. No more karma. There is no more karma, you guys. And if you think you have karma, you probably brought it back in. So get rid of it, be done with it, say, I'm done with that. He said, the game is over. And he was referring to the 3D game. Think of it like a video game. The game is over. The game will end when there are no more players. Will you be the first to leave or the last? Isn't that cool? I find that very, very powerful. So now we're going to do some divine upgrade commands, and hopefully you can read that, because I don't think that's on your worksheet. So I'm going to read it out loud once, so in case you're struggling to read it, you will be able to catch it when I say it. I ask this divine upgrade assist me in allowing me to pursue my soul's highest purpose in this lifetime with the most evolved appearance possible and expressing in the kindest and most generous and gentle way. So some of you are taking pictures. That's awesome. Do it. That way you'll be able to read it on your phone. Okay? Together, I ask for this divine upgrade to assist me in allowing me to pursue my highest purpose in this lifetime with the most evolved appearance possible and expressing in the kindest and most generous and gentle way. What a lot of people don't realize is that every choice, there's 5 possibilities. 5. 2 below grade and 3 above grade. So everybody in this room, you're not at the below grade. You're at the 3 above grade. 2 of them are good choices. 1 of them is ideal. And the one that is the highest and best choice is often counterintuitive. And that's the part that's scary, which is why you want to have your higher self connection so that you can ask your higher self, is it in my highest and best good to take this action step? Yes. Let your higher self tell you yes. I have so many stories of clients and my own experiences where I followed what my higher self said, and even though it was counterintuitive, and I'll tell just one story to wrap your brain around it. I was driving between Minneapolis and Madison, Wisconsin. It's about a 3 to 5 hour drive, depending upon traffic. It was late at night, and a big semi, a tractor trailer, passes me. And my higher self came in and said, get into the slipstream. Now the slipstream, in case you're not familiar with that term, is that airfoil that exists behind one of those big trucks, that if you get into it, into that close proximity, that truck will pull you along. You will use less gas, but the trucker now is spending more gas. Okay, it's not a nice thing to do. And I could hardly accept that I was being told to do this, because I had been taught by my sons, this is never do this, Mom. Okay, so I asked again, am I to get, really? Yes, do it now. So I did. Okay, we're coming up on an interchange, and I knew that I was taking the next freeway. I wondered to myself, I wonder what the truck's going to do. The truck took the same interchange. And I asked again, am I to stay with the truck? Yes. All of a sudden, on that curve, the truck, keep in mind it's a big semi, is still doing 60 miles an hour on the berm, on the side of the road, not on the main part of the road. And I asked, am I to go? Yes, now. So I move over, and another car is going the wrong way, full speed. We come out of the curve, and I ask again, do I have to stay with this truck? No, you're okay. Pretty darn amazing. And there have been many other stories. Some of you have heard my 9/11 story. I was in New York City the day before 9/11, blah, blah, blah. So having that higher self connection it's like, number 1, it's a no-brainer. Number 2, it helps you discern. You can find a teacher that you really like, and maybe they'll tell you 10 things that are important and useful for you, but the 11th thing is questionable. How would you know? You ask your higher self. And the same is true with coursework. You want to study something. Is this the highest and best choice for me? No. Is this the highest best choice for me? No. Is this the highest best choice for me? No. Am I to wait to take this kind of coursework? Yes. See what I mean? Sometimes I always tell people, if you get the same answer 3 times, abandon the question and move on. You can either make a decision or you ask a different question that helps you understand why you're getting that answer. Okay, what do we got next? Okay, so now we're going to go through the nexus. And the nexus is this part of moving through the dimensions where your memory will fail you. Okay, how many have had your memory fail you? You're not getting old. Okay? Your memory is getting left behind because the memory has too many attachments, has too much judgment, you see? And so it's easier just to drop the whole thing. Have you ever made something in your kitchen that came out so bad you refused to eat it and throw it out? I have. Same thing. You're just going to let go of the memory. And this is why letting go is so very important. Learning to let go is huge. And all of us are being asked to let go. Let go, let go, let go, let go. And you can be like a child and say, I have to have my blankie. Or you can say, okay, I guess something better is coming along. Okay. When you unhook from the false matrix, that's when your memory will start to fail you. You're letting go of density and densities, and it feels crazy making. So the less heavy your cells and vibration are, the more your physical body may resist this lightness. So as you become more attuned with your divine self, then there's this whole big resistance thing that's going to go on with your body until you just unhook. Just unhook. One of the ways you unhook is to get a little more sleep. So if you have the ability to sleep in, do so. And so your physical body might resist this lightness, so to speak. And your body is going to become crystalline. So how are you going to work through that? And the way you're working through it is to move. So you go on walks, you go to the gym, you work out, you do your qigong, whatever it is that you can do to keep your body moving. Because if you just sit around, you become stagnant, and it will be harder for you to move to the next level of ascension, which is very, very important. Okay, so now we won't have time to do this in class, but we are going to do the spiral chakra meditation, and it's at the end. So we are going to first talk about something else, and then we'll move into the actual meditation. There are 3 different kinds of dimensional shifts. I want to talk to you about this. Some of you may have had this happen. You're in the dream time, and you wake up in the middle of the night, and you feel this energy. And I'm going to make a sound because that's the only way I know to describe it is do, 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 do. But it feels like that energy is moving down towards you. It doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel like there's something wrong, but it's definitely unusual. How many of you have had that? Yeah, probably a few more that haven't really recognized it. So if you wake up in the middle of the night, you don't have to go pee, you don't have an emergency, and you're wondering, why am I awake? The reason is because you're accepting the dimensional shift that's coming down, and you'll get it, and you'll go right back to sleep. Another way you can go through a dimensional shift is through what I call a tsunami. And I was with a client on a high floor in a foreign country, and we were in the Akashic Records, and the record keepers explained to the client that she could be this person that she had not aspired to yet, and she had not stepped into that role. She'd married up, and she was struggling with who she was and who she was needed to express. And the record keepers told her, you can step into that, you can be that. And no, I can't. This went on for a few repetitions, and all of a sudden, the energy from the records just came in so profoundly that she got it. She got it. And in that moment, the whole room rocked and swayed. And I'm thinking, I'm in Asia, it's got to be an earthquake. So I turned to my translator, and she nodded. She saw it too. When the client left, I said, check your phone. I want to know how big that earthquake was. Was no earthquake. And this has happened to me in seminars when I've been listening to other speakers. It happened to me when I was listening to Corey Good, the very first time he ever went public, and he told a personal story, and then in that moment, he realized who he was, and I saw the whole room move. And I'm looking around thinking, did anybody else see that? No. So that's one way. But you, if you're the participant, you might see it. You also might see it in somebody else who's having that big aha. And it's more than an aha because they're actually owning the new role. And then that old timeline that they were on is dissolved in an instant, And that's why there's so much movement, because they're literally jumping from one timeline to another. And if you can see into the dimensions, you'll see it. The third way that it can happen is during a devotional experience. So that means you're in meditation and something big happens. Maybe your kundalini starts to rise. Could be anything. And you come out of the meditation and say, what was that? Probably a dimensional shift. Now, why is that? And the answer is because when we're in certain timelines, we've made rules for ourselves that we can no longer operate in. And we're ready to let go of those rules, but it's easier to jump tracks than it is to undo it. Do you see? And that's why this whole business of letting go is so important at this time. That's also why it can happen during Akashic Records reading. So now, how do we unhook from the time matrix? This is really important because when you unhook from time, you have the ability to jump timelines in a much easier way. It's a little bit like all of us are walking around with ankle weights, and we don't even know they're there. And then somebody figures out, hey, you can take these things off. So you take them off, and suddenly you can really move. And everybody goes, how's she doing that? So unhook. How do you unhook? Well, stop wearing a watch. I know I've seen some very beautiful watches here today. I'm just saying, it's best if you don't wear a watch. Also, get yourself a clock that doesn't tick, has an alarm, has a snooze, and doesn't plug in. It's battery operated. And put that on your nightstand and put your phone in the other room. Because the Wi-Fi stuff that's going on is dangerous for your pineal, and you need your pineal to operate and open in order to have the connection you need to move through the next nexus that we're going through. It's really important to honor your pineal in this way. Okay, so now we're going to step out of patterns, and I'm going to show you another pattern. Patterns that reinforce the time matrix that is being conscripted onto you. So let go of always needing to know the time. Let your tummy tell you when it's dinner time. Or your kids can tell you when it's dinner time. And allow yourself to move through timelessness. And one of the ways that you can do this is if you're self-employed and you have the ability to have no appointments first thing in the morning, choose to do your sleep in on those days. And it's not like you're going to wake up and roll over and say, I'm going to sleep some more. It's more like sleep till you wake up. Sleep till you wake up. So you can feel opportunities and instructions coming from your inner wisdom. So now we're going to look at this ladder. And this is another piece from Stuart Swerdlow. And he talks about visualizing the blue triangle at each rung of the ladder. But the ladder really is your DNA. And what I want you to understand is that when you do this, when you imagine, little triangles on every part of your DNA, the blue triangles, you're taking it to its perfect state, perfection. And that will help you maintain the purity that you need to move into the crystalline DNA that you're already creating. So then I posted it on a DNA spiral to kind of give you an idea of what that might look like in your mind's eye. Edgar Cayce said, keep the pineal going, clear, and you won't grow old. You will always be young. That's pretty cool. How do you keep the pineal clear? The pineal is affected by, let's see if I can do this. I want to dive a little bit deeper. Since many of the previous readings that Casey gave mentioned the importance of the pineal gland in connection to psychic experience, it was a reasonable request. Please discuss in detail the function of the pineal gland. A very long paragraph followed. And the phrase about keeping the pineal gland operating is the last sentence of that paragraph. The first sentence in the explanation is this. If this is a discussion from an anatomical viewpoint in the fetus, as is begun in the first of gestation, we may refer to this as the builder. The builder. Okay, so now, how do we do this? So your pineal is affected by fluoride. You can't get away from fluoride. There are cities in Florida now that have outlawed fluoride. But when you go to the dentist, they are obligated to use a fluoridated mouthwash, filling, everything they use. It's mandated by their protocols that they're required to follow to keep their license. So you can't get away. So what are you going to do? We're going to talk about that in a second. The next thing that affects the pineal is EMF. One of the ways that I discovered is I was working late and I came to bed late, and the office that I used was directly below the bedroom, and that's where my router was, my wireless router. And when I went to bed, I had this high-pitched, hot thing move into my ear. And it was almost like somebody would take a piece of wire that was hot and stick it in my ear. And I asked my guys, what is this? And they said, well, that's your router. So I got up out of bed and went downstairs and unplugged it. And the next day, I put my router on a timer. So if you have your own home, you can do this. You can just put your router on a timer. When do you go to bed? When do you get up? And have it turned off for the rest of the time. If you live in an apartment building or close to your neighbor, then you have to use other tools to antidote that. And that's also in the bedtime prayer that's in the first book, Waking Up in 5D. Okay, so EMF, and of course, wear an eye mask. When you wear an eye mask, it completely covers the light and the situation in the light. Your pineal needs to rest. And even when there's a little tiny nightlight or anything, it causes your pineal to be disturbed and not able to shut down. So I carry an eye mask with me on a plane, and I use it on the plane if I know I'm going to go to sleep. And in most planes, most people go to sleep. You know why? They drop the oxygen level to 94. That's the 94 is, if you get 94, you're considered okay, and if it's below 94, then they give you oxygen. So you can see they take it down to the bare minimum. Everybody falls asleep. And if you're going to sleep on an airplane, you need eye mask, maybe even earplugs. So your pineal is small by body weight, but in many ancient cultures, they knew that the third eye was related to a functioning pineal. So keeping your two power centers clear meant that you'd get higher meditations and a greater connection to source, more mental clarity, and higher states in your meditation. Okay, now, this is what your pineal looks like, only it's about the size of a pea. The foods that support your pineal are shilajit, cacao, and tamarind. All of these are available on Amazon. You can buy shilajit. It's a tar-like substance. You can buy it in pellets or in a little jar like peanut butter, but it's super tacky. So I recommend that you buy the pellets because then you're dispersing exactly what you need. And I recommend that you take it with a little bit of vinegar water. So you take a little bit of apple cider vinegar, maybe a half a teaspoon in a small amount of water with it. And that way you get the maximum benefit. Okay, cacao, we're not talking chocolate, we're talking cacao, the original crunchy stuff. And there are ways to make cacao so you can eat it, or you can take a few little nibs and pop it in your mouth when you're hungry, or you throw it in your cereal. I actually make a chocolate with stevia sweetened chocolate chips, cacao butter, and then at the end I put some cacao nibs in the bottom and pour it into molds. It's amazing. And the last ingredient, it's a cup each of those 3 ingredients: chocolate chips, stevia sweetened, cacao, butter, and coconut oil. And you do have to keep it in the refrigerators because it'll get soft. And tamarind. Tamarind's readily available now. It used to only be available in Asia. And you can get it in pods that have been sweetened, or you can get it in unsweetened form. And it's easy to use. It's a fruit, and you can mix it into sauces. You can mix it into a drink with a little sparkling water, something like that. Okay, now that's not good. There we go. Okay, so that's how tiny the pineal is. When you want to reactivate your pineal, we're going to reactivate your DNA to your 5D heart, body, and brain. So now you can get your phones out again because you're going to want to copy this and do it daily. So first I want to explain. There is a torus around your body, not the astrological sign Taurus, but torus, T-O-R-U-S, and it's a shape like the apple core. The center is you, your divine channel, the channel that sits in front of your spine, and your energy is moving out and around. Sometimes it moves from the bottom up and around, but it mostly goes from the top down and around, okay? And that field is your field. And you start at the heart, and then you expand it and make it bigger. Now, I'm going to show you this, and I don't know how easily you can read it. I wish in hindsight I had done it differently, but go ahead and make a picture of it so you can read it. And this is another command that you can say every day. Take you 2 seconds, but it's very, very powerful. And when you do these commands, I highly recommend that you don't have your legs crossed, you don't have your arms crossed. Okay, so you ready? Everybody ready? I now command. Together, my higher self, reactivate my DNA. Connect me to my 5D heart, body, and brain. My pineal gland, distribute my pineal gland energies throughout my body. I in a torus formation. And say again, I now command. I now command my pineal gland to transform into its highest level of functionality perpetually. Isn't that cool? I think so too. All right. So now we're going to journal your experiences. And so what I want to do is take you through a guided meditation. It looks like I have 1 minute left. How did this happen? No? No, I get to go 90 minutes. Okay, it's the other class. Okay. So, even when you don't go back to them, your memory will be sharper and you will be able to remember more details. So, I'm going to take you through the higher self protocol, and what I'm going to ask is that you have your feet uncrossed and your arms uncrossed, and you can have your hands anywhere you want. You can have them on your lap, or you can have them nested, but you don't want them doing this. You don't want to cross at your wrist. So close your eyes And allow yourself to remember a time when you have held a beloved being in your arms. Could be a pet or an infant. It could be a walk on the beach when you were feeling really yummy, or a hike in the mountains. Someplace or some experience that really made your heart sing. And stay with that thought until you really feel a shift in your chest. This is your heart energy expanding. This is your heart chakra opening. Now send a beam of love and light up your pranic tube, that tube that sits above in front of your spine. It's like a fluorescent tube. And you're moving energy from your heart to your throat chakra, third eye, crown, all the way up to the 8th chakra, which is above the head. And we're asking the higher self to join us in our heart. Higher self, please join me in my heart. Now allow that energy to move down and activate your crown and your third eye together in the pineal. And then move into your heart. Your throat chakra first, and then your heart. And then move to below your feet to the Earth Star chakra, your base chakra, spleen, and solar plexus. And then back to the heart. Now ask your higher self to work with you. Higher self, help me to get my symbols or signals. So higher self, give me my symbol or signal for yes. It could be a visual, a color or a shape. It could be a sensation in your body, a taste in your mouth, a sound in your head. Could even be the word, yes. Again, higher self, show me my symbol or signal for yes. Higher self, show me my symbol or signal for no. Again, could be something you hear, something you see, something you feel. Higher self, give me my signal for no. Higher self, give me my symbol or signal for neutral. Many people experience neutral as something happening in the central column, or your pranic tube area, or in the torso of your body. It may even feel like there's something, but it feels like nothing. The higher self, give me my symbol or signal for neutral. Thank you. So open your eyes and write down what you got for your yes, your no, and your neutral. Okay, so now we're going to take a minute and explain what neutral is. Neutral is not maybe. Neutral is not maybe. Neutral has 5 possibilities. The first possibility is neutral can be the same. So imagine you're in a canoe floating down the river. There's a little island in the middle of the river. You go left, you go right, it's the same because your destination is way beyond it. Makes no difference which path you take. That's one expression of neutral. Another expression of neutral is, in 3D terms, it's none of your business. In 5D terms, you don't have the password. So it means you're asking about something that's really not your affair. Okay? And then there's 2 that have to do with divine timing. Sometimes it doesn't serve you to know the answer now. Sometimes it doesn't serve you to ever know the answer. If you know you're going to pass a test, maybe you'll stay partying all night before the test. If you don't know the answer, you're going to be cautious. So there are a few times that your higher self will give you the neutral response because it's in your highest and best good to not really understand what's happening. And lastly, there's this quality of you and your higher self have what I will call a mission or a contract to work together. And when you open that channel and you ask and you get the neutral response, it may be that you're not asking the right question. You're asking something that makes no sense. And sometimes it isn't even something that doesn't compute, it's just not the right question. And I'll give you an example. When I first learned the Merkaba, 30-some years, well actually more like 40 years ago, 30 years ago, we were told that your Merkaba would go permanent at some point. And that's pretty exciting because it means you don't have to do the same meditation every day. But when I got to a certain point, I asked my higher self, is my Merkaba permanent? And my higher self came in and said, that's not the right question for you, Maureen. So then I asked, am I to keep doing this? And the answer was yes. I did it every day nonstop for 8 years. I still do it every day. I've gone through cycles where I don't do it for a couple of days and then I do it again, but currently I'm on an everyday cycle again. And I'm also doing what's called the 8D Merkaba, which I can talk to you about a little bit. So those 5 reasons for neutral boil down to 2 directions. One direction, okay, here's another kind of ambiguity question. This is like the 5th one we were just talking about. Maybe you're asking about, am I going to get married to Thomas in September? And maybe you're going to get married in September, but not to Thomas. So you asked ambiguous question because your higher self can't give you a straight answer. When you look at these 5 choices and you boil it down to 2, what it amounts to is this worth pursuing? And the first 3 are not worth pursuing. Doesn't serve you to know. It's no different, like that. Or do I need to look at the question? Do I need to reframe what I'm doing? So then you'll know whether or not I should pursue this question or I should abandon the question. So that's why there's 5 reasons for neutral. Neutral is always going to give you what I would call the half answer, except for the it makes no difference part. Okay. So as you work with this information, you will find that when you want to check in, there's only one way to check in, and that is higher self, is it in my highest and best good to take this step? You're not asking about your neighbor. You're not asking about stuff about the future. You are asking about your highest and best choice on this action step. After you do this and you get 100% accuracy, that's when your higher self can now come in and speak directly to you and tell you to take action steps that you might not have been planning on. Okay? So you do these questions every day for 45 days, as I explained earlier, because you get new DNA at 45 days. You always ask the same way, higher self. Why do you have to say it by name? Well, if you have more than one child, and they're all close in age, and you call into the kitchen, can someone bring me a glass of water? You want to know what happens? Nothing. She talking to me? Nope. She's talking to you? Nope. She didn't say my name. So you want to ask the same thing. And don't go giving your higher self a nickname. Some people think that's cool. It's not. Just use the simple term, higher self, is it in my highest and best good to take this action step? The second question is always follow through. Remember, that's the second rule. If you're always following through, that means you're only asking about things you're either willing to do or willing to pass on. Okay? Don't be like the lady in the Chinese class. We're all in a hotel together and we're having breakfast, and she asks her higher self about whether she should have meat. So she raises her hand in class and said, why would my higher self lie to me? And I said, well, what did you ask? And she said, well, I'm a vegan. I asked my higher self this morning if I should have meat, and my higher self said yes. She broke 2 of the rules. There's only 3. And everybody in the class did what you did. They laughed because they understood that she wasn't willing to do what her higher self said. She was testing to see if her higher self would be right according to her standard. And the most amazing thing is when you ask your higher self, it may tell you to break your standard operating procedure, like have some meat today. But if you don't ever want to eat meat again, you don't ask. You just stay vegan and let it be okay. And the interesting thing is, there are no more hard and fast rules. You know, those of you or those of us who don't eat meat, for example, may be appalled at eating meat. But if your higher self told you you needed to have some meat, then you would take that action step. And again, if you don't want to do it, don't ask. Okay? Now, I do say to people, when you start this practice, after you hit your 45 days, you're allowed to ignore your higher self. You ask your higher self and it says, you know, don't go to the movies, but you want to go anyway, and you do. That's okay. No problem. In my case, when I did that, the movie was a dog. And I went because I wanted to be with some friends that I hadn't seen in a while. And when we came out of the theater, I said to my friends, did you like that movie? Oh no, we thought it was terrible. So I thought it was terrible too. And then they said, we wanted to leave, but we didn't want to hurt your feelings. So fortunately, it was a minor thing. I will tell you, once you get your higher self connection going, if it is a matter of life and death or the most important thing, you will discover that your higher self will insist. And when my higher self insists the 3rd time, I take that action. Now, there's a lot of question about, well, if you're following your higher self, you're not practicing free will. But that's not true. Because you're consciously choosing to use the advisor of the higher self that has a connection both to source and to everything you care about at the same time. That advisor's got the goods on everything. So then you choose to follow that recommendation because you know it's always right. And how will you know it's always right? during your 6 weeks of practice, when you're asking about stuff you don't care about, stuff you're willing to navigate, you will find that your higher self will direct you in areas that you couldn't imagine working out. So you go to a restaurant that you didn't think you would like, and you run into a friend that you need to see. You ask your higher self about something, and your higher self says, to do this, and you don't think that's a good idea. But you do what your higher self says, and then you get these wonderful pieces of feedback that will produce for you a happier outcome in the big picture. In one instance, in my experience, I was coming back from an overseas flight. I was living in San Diego. I was going to drive from San Diego to LACMA here in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Art Museum, with my husband. And we were going to see a friend of mine who was performing at in a concert at LACMA that evening. And we're on the phone the day before I fly, and he says, I'd really like to go to the Broad Museum. It's just opened, and we can do both museums on the same day. And I proceeded to fuss at him, saying, well, that's a really bad idea because I'm coming in from a 14-hour flight, blah, blah, blah. And why should I get up early after working for 3 weeks like this? And then I finished my little rant with, but I'll check in. And if my higher self says to do it, I'll do it. And my higher self said to do it. So I'm standing in line by myself because my husband has gone off for coffee. And this woman comes up to the line I'm in and says, would anybody like early admission tickets? And everybody behind me didn't say anything. And I'm looking and thinking, I'll take them. So she gave them to me. But first she said, no, I wanted to go to 2 people. And I said, well, I am 2 people. So as I'm following her back to her place in line, my guides came in and said, you need to talk to this person. So I talked to this person, and she says, well, I have to go up front and ask another question. So she goes to ask the other question. She hands me her ticket, says, you may need this if we get separated. And I look at the ticket, and it had a very long German name, Riegelsberger. And I pronounced it and said, I used to know a family with that name, but they're from Ohio. And the man spoke up and said, well, I'm from Ohio. We're from Ohio. And without skipping a beat, his mother, the grandma who was with them, looked at me and said, are you Maureen? Pat, the grandma, was my mother's best friend when I was in high school. Over the course of the standing in line, I said to them, well, I have this apartment in New York that I don't get to use very often. If you ever get to New York, you're welcome to use it. And Mike, the dad, said, well, actually, 2 of our daughters go to school in New York City. We'd love to take you up on your apartment. And they did. And then one day I called Mike and said, my assistant just left. I need someone to come in, pick up the mail and do office stuff. Would either of your daughters be interested in working for me? And he said, let me check. One of his daughters came to work for me, and she was the best assistant I ever had. And when she left, she sent her friend, who was equally capable. One day when I was on the phone with my mother and chatting about this magical event, she said to me, honey, I don't know if you knew this, but Pat and your dad were first cousins. So I was practicing nepotism and I didn't even know it. So all of that, because I said yes to something I thought was a bad idea. And it's remarkable to me how incredible your life will become when you say yes to your higher self. And when you choose to practice free will develop this skill. It is the biggest gift I can give you, because everything else hinges on that. Your life, my life, our lives are changing so dramatically. We are in the fastest changing time in our history. Over the next 6 months, you are going to see enormous, enormous, enormous change. And if you have a higher self connection, you will know what to do. And that's why you need it. So I'd like to ask if you have questions, because we have time. A lot of times we have these talks and I can't take questions, and I'd be happy to take questions if you have them. But you have to speak up, because they're taking the mic, and I may repeat your question.
You were just talking about the biggest gift,
Uh-huh.
and the rest I didn't write, I lost it.
Okay, the biggest gift is your higher self connection. Right. This will take you anywhere for any time. So many times after the 6 weeks of practice. Oh, and let me ask this. Is there anybody here who didn't get a signal or symbol? Raise your hand. I want to see a head count. It's usually about 10%, so we only had a few. Okay, good. All right, there is a workaround. And the workaround is this. Those of you who already got your symbol or symbol, don't pay any attention to what I'm going to say, because it'll confuse you. And I don't want you to do this workaround because you don't need it. You've already got your symbol. Okay? Is clear on that? The workaround is you feel the energy in your right side of your body all the way up sequentially. Okay? Keep moving energy. You can make energy, like everybody right now, you can take your right hand and hold it in front of you and tell your body to make your right hand feel stronger, feel more alive, more energy in it. Do that now. Relax your hand and tell your body, okay, I want to feel more energy in my hand. Can you feel more energy in your hand? Good. So what you're going to do is you're going to work your way all the way up to the shoulders, and then all the way to the torso, and then all the way to your toes. Keep adding energy, okay? And then you announce to your higher self, this is my signal for yes. Okay? And do the same thing with the left hand, left side, that's my answer for no. And then for the center, you just say, energy moving in the central part of my body. And it could feel like a big empty, okay? Empty. And then, after you've done all that, then you play. And you say, okay, higher self, practice with me. Show me yes. And your right arm or right side of your body will come alive. Okay, settle down, calm down. All right, show me no. Higher self, show me no. Don't just say show me no. Higher self, show me no. Because there is a possibility that an entity or energy could come in and masquerade as your higher self. And that has happened quite a bit lately. So you always want to say higher self. Don't just announce show me yes, show me no. Higher self, show me yes, higher self, show me no. And finally, once you have your higher self connection, when you get information that you are suspicious of, ask again. Is this my higher self telling me to follow that truck? Yes. See what I mean? Okay. Other questions? Go ahead.
So the way you speak to your higher self is very similar, and I often just regard it as a pendulum, and I say pendulum, show me a yes, show me a no. Am I really speaking to my higher self, or who is the pendulum? Because I'm just regarding it as a pendulum, but the pendulum will, move in a certain way, so I know yes, I know no, I know, I don't know.
The problem with the pendulum is that I can influence your pendulum, and so can somebody else. That's number one. Number two, has your pendulum ever lied to you?
Lies that it didn't say the truth.
Then made a mistake? I was giving a lecture to like 200 people who were members of the Canadian Dowsers Association. And I asked, how many of you have had your pendulum give you wrong information? 75% of the room raised their hand. Now, at that moment, I was in shock because I expected everyone's hand to go up. And I'm checking in to what I should say next, and my guide said, the rest of you are in denial. I am certain that your pendulum can be outside influence. Now the pendulum is great for body confirmation, for what vitamins to take, what doctors to use, anything that has to do with your immediate field. But when it comes to the big thing, your pendulum is reading everything in the field, and it isn't necessarily connected to your divine self. And nobody can compromise your higher self. But I sat with a woman and her daughter, her very precocious daughter, at dinner one night. The daughter was bragging about her new pendulum and blah, blah, blah. And she's showing me how well it works for her, only it's not working. And finally she looks at me, she says, I don't get it. It's not working the way it's supposed to. And I said, I know. She said, well, what's going on? And I said, I'm influencing it. And she said, why would you do such a thing? And I said, because I want you to know how to use your higher self. Nobody can mess with your higher self. And finally, what if you don't have a pendulum? Maybe you left it behind. Maybe you lost it.
But what I'm asking and wondering, because I'm putting the two together, can you now substitute pendulum with my higher self? Can you show me through the pendulum the information? Is that possible for people that aren't getting signs?
Well, here's what I will say. If you don't get a sign, teach your body the signs that it can recognize, okay? When one of my sons was little and he couldn't speak very well, he was still not learning words, every time I gave him cheese, he said, "Ga." So pretty soon when he would say, "Ga, Mama, ga," I would get him some cheese. And I'm telling you, your higher self will respond to the assignment you give it. So if you didn't get a sign, do the workaround. Because as good as your pendulum is, your higher self is better.
But who is the pendulum? I guess that's my biggest question.
The pendulum's reading the field around you. But how big is your field? 3 feet? 8 feet? 10 feet? What about the rest of the world? What about the room you're in? You want your higher self to read what's going on for you here, but also what's going on for everything you care about. I would never have met those people. My mom was in touch with Pat, but Pat lived in Cleveland. She was visiting in Los Angeles. That's why you want your higher self. Because your higher self will not let you down. Your pendulum will. And again, there's nothing wrong with using a pendulum. It's a great place to start. But if I gave you a choice of driving a Ford Falcon or a Mercedes CLS, what are you going to choose? I'm taking the Mercedes. I don't know about you guys. So again, there's nothing wrong with using a pendulum, and it is good for therapies and what's going on around your body. But it isn't as thorough or as expansive as your higher self can and will be for you. And that's why it's so important. Other questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to understand the protocol. So you say the declaration of sovereignty.
Could you speak up a little bit?
I would like to understand the protocol.
Okay.
So you say the declaration of sovereignty for 45 days, and I demand that for 45 days, and then
No. The protocol is 3 things. Every day, 30 to 40 times a day, you ask unimportant, insignificant questions. Secondly, if you ask your higher self, is it my highest and best good to have that chocolate chip cookie? Your higher self says no, don't eat it. If you really want the cookie, don't ask. Third thing is you set aside all your divination tools, your pendulum, your muscle testing, all of it, until 45 days are up. Every once in a while someone asks me, well, after the 45 days, can I go back to using my pendulum? And my answer is the same. You could, but your higher self will always give you accurate answers. Your pendulum does not. Now, if you want to review the protocol, it's on the app. It's on the free section of the app. So the app is called Illuminate. It's available for Android and iPhone. It has over 40 meditations. First 10 are free. If you like what you get, you can subscribe. Even so, there's a number of trainings on the higher self in the wisdom section to help you get it. Other questions? All right, I'd like to take you through the spiral chakra meditation. We have time, and it's very, very powerful. The spiral chakra meditation is based upon you're activating the heart, and instead of going up or down, you're going to go in a spiral. Okay? And when we do this, we are tuning our energy to the feminine, because masculine lines are straight, feminine lines are curvy. Okay? So you start at the heart, and when you start at the heart, you spiral down to the solar plexus. Now what goes on in the solar plexus? It's the seat of fear, it's the seat of emotion, and often gets, like a lot of negative stuff going on there. When you have your heart connection and you have unconditional love, when you put that heart energy into the solar plexus, all of that changes to courage and strength. Then you circle up with that energy to the throat, and the throat becomes the power center of you expressing yourself. So we'll go through this in this way and keep activating in a spiral, and then we take the whole thing and flip it on the side. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in depth at the free lecture in at 6. I would like to talk about one other thing, and that has to do with the 8D Merkaba. If you have the book, Living Your Best 5D Life, I have included information on how to activate your 8D Merkaba. I also recommend that you build the 8D Merkaba shape. Now, most of us are familiar with the 3D Merkaba, the 5D, the 17 breath Merkaba. And the 8D Merkaba is built upon a field of energy that is an icosahedron that's nested in a way, in a phi ratio. Now, I don't know how many of you understand the term phi, but it is this magical relationship that exists between parts of the body. Now, I think I have a device. I brought it with me, but I'm not sure it made it into my tote. With the 5D, okay. So the phi ratio is the only ratio that expresses itself both expanding and contracting. And again, I'm going to be talking much more detail in the free lecture about this, but what I want you to understand is the phi ratio is the same as the ratio found between the little finger and the base of your palm and the palm. So this is 1, then the whole length is in phi. And the same is true if you take this as 1, then this becomes phi. And phi is 1.618. So I can't see what it says. 15? Okay, good. So what happens when you construct this, and this is what's important in this book, if you will take the time to build this first, then when you activate it, your body will know it. So you will make 30 crosses that are in phi. So one length represents 1, the other length represents 1.618. And I've actually given you exact measurements of what to do so you can create a little one. And that's your visual that you have around your entire body. So the 8D Merkaba takes you out of the matrix. The 8D Merkaba will give you this amazing capacity to change the reality. You are no longer subject to the matrix. Now, what do I mean by the matrix? Wi-Fi, cell phones, internet, all have programming that's running underneath it. Nobody will tell you this, but the field speaks it to you. And there's 2 things that it tells you to do. Reject, reject, reject. Forget, forget, forget. You can be with somebody who is different and stuck. And you'll have a conversation and they'll start to get it. And then they turn around and reject it. How many of you have had that happen? It's because they're being broadcast this energy to reject and forget. So even if they start to wake up, the energy that's being broadcast, this is why it's so dangerous to have your Wi-Fi on all the time. It's why it's so dangerous to go to bed right after being on the internet or the TV. So you want to find a way to unhook from all of that for yourself. That'll help you unhook energetically. If you're meditating every day, you'll be unhooked from this energetically. But people who aren't meditating are getting broadcasts. And by the way, it's even happening in the grocery stores where they're using smart technology to restock the shelves. And you can feel it if you're sensitive. So the 8D Merkaba is so powerful that you are activating it another way than the regular Merkaba. How many know how the Merkaba, the original Merkaba, is activated? Anybody? Okay. So the original Merkaba is a star tetrahedron. It's 2 tetrahedrons that are nested like this. And because I don't have my own laptop plugged in, I can't show it to you. But it is, I will show it in the other presentation. I think it's in there. Oh, I know where I can show it. It was in the image of the blue field. There. That is a Merkaba, that gold shape. When you learn to activate that, you automatically become 5th dimensional. And the way you activate it is very easy. It takes about 4 hours to learn and 5 minutes to do. And that's the meditation I was telling you that I do every day, and I did every day for over 8 years. So this shape, it's like wearing your 5th dimensional suit. It's the perfected version of you as a human. The 8D Merkaba takes you out of the matrix. So let's go back to my definition of the matrix. Matrix is all these energies being broadcast onto you. It's also a field of energy that prevents you from meditating and getting outside of that loop. So even when you meditate, you can only go so high because there's actual, remember the Truman Show? Did any of you see that? A little bit like that. So you're in this bubble that you and I can't escape from until we do something like the 8D Merkaba. So the 8D Merkaba helps us pop out of that matrix. What happens when you do the 8D Merkaba is you're able to dissolve the field that holds you back with this field because you're moving through the speed of light. The Merkaba itself is activated by spinning 3 of those guys in the same space. One goes to the left, one goes to the right, and then they're put into the phi ratio. Phi ratio is source code for this 3D life and 5D as well, okay, source code. And then you get it spinning fast enough that the wobble disappears, because if one side is faster than the other, you can imagine there's a wobble. Okay, just like if you had a car that had a rear spring that was broken, there would be a wobble. So the speed differential causes a wobble, and the wobble gets sorted out, almost disappears, by raising the speed. So the Merkaba is a very wonderful thing to learn and to do every day, and it will go permanent. Most people, it takes anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months for it to go permanent. And then all you need to do is touch it up. It's like having spinning plates. They're just going to run. What that does for you is puts you in a zone of interacting with life at a much higher vibe. It also makes your higher self connection super easy. The 8D Merkaba came through as a result of me meditating in the original 17 breath Merkaba. The Icasa dodecahedron, so you've got an icosahedron and a dodecahedron. The icosahedron has all these triangles, 60 triangles, and the dodecahedron is the pentagon, or the pentagram. Those 2 shapes are nested so tightly and so perfectly in phi that they are in harmony. And you're going to spin a set going this way and a set going this way, and then when you raise the speed, you take it through the speed of light. What this will do is create an outcome for you that allows you to heal yourself remarkably. What we discovered in working with it is that you could take little versions of this, like the model you make, and put it on a bum knee, or put it on a bum hip, or put it on your sinuses, and it would heal it instantly once you activate it. Because you're outside of the matrix. You have full sovereignty. You have full expression of who you are. Go back to that prayer that we did for sovereignty and think about the fact that we said, or influences on me. Because there's so many influences on humanity to keep us stuck. And the way we unhook from that is by knowing that it's there and deliberately going around it and turning it off where we can. So my goal is, if you get that book and you decide you want to learn the 8D Merkaba, I request that you build the actual shape with little dowels and a hot melt glue gun, cool melt glue gun, to create the shape that your body will recognize, that your consciousness will recognize, and then turn it on. It's amazing, just amazing. I'd like to take more questions if there's any questions. I've really gone off the deep end here. I'm sorry about that. What? Can you say that a little louder? Well, the instructions are on the back of the book. It's like Appendix 2 or 3. And it is important to build it before you do it. And the 8D Merkaba is in the app. So that's how you get it. Yeah. Yeah. The app is absolutely amazing because it's got, like I said, over 40 meditations. Sell your home, letting go of anything, letting go of beloved, and all kinds of meditations for the angels and the Elohim and on and on and on. So represents a huge body of knowledge. Go ahead.
Is the book available now?
Yes, we're going to go do a book signing right now. And we also are in booth 88 downstairs. If you walk into the main hall, you would go left. There's 2 rooms. So the left room where there's a lot of displays, and then you go left again, and we're in the very first row at the very end. So find us there if you don't want to come to the book signing, which is going to be short. Other questions? Go ahead. Can you speak a little louder?
The Merkaba will take you away from the 3D mastication, right?
Right. The 17 breath Merkaba will put you into 5D, right? Yeah. Yes. Right. The two get connected. You're absolutely right. That's a good assumption. The two do get connected and create the bigger system. Mhm.
Which book is this?
Living Your Best 5D Life. It's got a pink sacred geometry on it. So there's 3 books on 5D. Waking Up in 5D. I don't remember the title of the second one. The third one's Living Your Best 5D Life. So there's 3 altogether. And they don't repeat. There's no... It's a little bit of catch-up in the last one, just so people pick that one up. They don't feel totally confused. Anyway, go ahead, in the back. You know what? You need to speak up because I'm the one with the mic and I'm not hearing you. I'm sorry. Can you come up to the front? What about the meditation? Oh, you want to do? We have time? Okay. Okay. We're out of time. Okay. Come to the free one and we will be doing it. Okay? The free one at 6. Thank you all for being here. Let me know if you want a mini reading. Come to our booth. Thank you very much. Nice to see you. Well, the other lecture is I'm going deeply into the spiral chakra, and I'm taking people through a chakra meditation that nobody's ever done. It's based on that work of Gitchell, Century Seed. You know who Gitchell was? Did you ever hear of him? He was a mystic in the 1600s, and the people of Theosophy and Blavatsky and that crowd, you looked at the picture and didn't understand it. And I took one look and I knew exactly what that was. And he's got a running dog going up, but the circle goes down. And I've been waiting for that information to come in. Didn't know how, I didn't know when.
So the Living Your Best, whatever that was, it's not on the picture because it's
Brand new.
that's what I was gonna.
Let me grab my stuff here.
Thank you. That was excellent.
Thank you.
That was I never heard that one.
Oh, cool. Let me hold your hand.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it is your logo.
Well done, window.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for
cleanest room I've had doing one of these. I live in inner city Los Angeles, like Koreatown area. It's about an hour. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, it's